All right, so welcome to a special edition of the Corey Sheppard podcast. I have somebody here who was supposed to be the first guest on this podcast. And now she on what number, Zachary? About 95th guest?
Actually, I'm on 5th.
Yeah, 5th. On episode 100 and something. And this is a person who listens to every week and give me a commentary on every week. And the thing that she said she liked the most about the podcast is the calypso. So where better to start? Yes.
The night was full of moving with Diane. Around town we looking for action. Or was we hunting for pet with heavy weight? Or Jam was feeling good so we stayed. Feeling the groove, the girl in a quiet mood. But she incited me to behave rude. She find out to result, so she pulled away. Left me and run out of the stage and start to sing for the DJ. Play,
Mr. DJ. Oh, this party is it. Folks, we finally have Lynda Sheppard-Babb on the podcast after long last. Mommy, how you going? You finally reached. I come close to that mic as you can come. No, I chose this song for a specific reason, because I tell people all the time on this podcast, especially when Daddy on the podcast, that people assume that because he was in bands and things, that's the reason I love calypso. But this is one of the first calypsos and one of the first artists I ever fall in love with. You remember this song? Remember playing this song from Newtown to Eligo Avenue every week?
She hijacked the fest and make it a concert. Singing she own thing and wouldn't stop. Shouting and whining down like she gone insane.
Yes.
All the music on till she break. Charming and beautiful like a beauty queen. Natalie clad in red, she lights up the scene. All who wouldn't free up, she set them free. Giving up endless energy. The woman wake up the party. Play,
Mr. DJ. Oh, this party is it. So welcome finally to the Corey Sheppard podcast.
Thank you.
You're in front of the camera now. No more behind the camera. No more secret comments and feedback after you're here to hear everything and see everything. How are you going?
Good.
How was you drive down the road? You make it on good?
Beautiful.
I had to tell people that we're recording on the Diwali weekend when there's the most traffic possible in Shogunas. But this is a woman who's moved early, so you come down before the traffic.
Oh, yeah.
You ain't say down in that traffic.
No. That's not a plan.
That's your nano. They have a producer of this episode, right? By the name of Zachary Sheppard-Babb. I was trying to wonder why he here. Well, that's your nano. Nobody asked if that's your nano. He here for the drinks.
Nobody asked from here.
All right, bye. See you. So listen, we have plenty to talk about since you're here. I want to let everybody know too that we're here for a special reason. You might see some of the decor, you might see the colors and everything. I find the only pink thing that could fit it for another size in the COVID. But we're here to celebrate. You tell them what we're here to celebrate. How much years and so on?
Oh, 21 years since I've had my challenge with breast cancer.
21 years.
21 years.
21 years fully cancer free? 21 years since diagnosis.
21 years fully cancer.
Wow, that's something to celebrate. That is something to celebrate. So October would be breast cancer month and we've been trying to get this done. So when it come out, right? But the most important thing is that we commemorate this occasion and come together to celebrate it. And for me as well, some of the things you've done, and I see you do since you have breast cancer, to support people who would be either going through it now or have family who are going through it. We want to get to that to make sure that you talk to people. But since I hire here, we had to start at the start. Right, Zachary? You don't have her here already.
I don't even know this stuff.
Well, Zachary, go and get the whole story now. So, ma'am, where are you from? What part of this country are you from?
Who's the best place in the world? St. James. No other. In the heart of St. James.
In the heart of St. James. St. James.
Right
No joke,
behind
right?
St. James Market.
Right.
For those who know St. James.
So
St. James.
what was that like?
Actually, I was born on Anderson Street.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
It
this.
was a home birth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And actually, mother's brother, his wife,
Right.
she was a nurse, and she did the delivery at home.
So you had everything
And
right
that's
home
my
there for you?
godmother.
Oh, so,
Yeah, so-
who we call mother in our family is my grandmother, mommy's mother. And her sister, she was the one who, she see about all the birds then. She make sure everybody, most of your brothers and sisters born up.
That's Tante Pearl. which
Oh,
is
okay.
Uncle Ernest's wife.
That's right.
And
I
she's
didn't
still
know that.
alive.
Right.
She did the delivery right at
Wow.
home. Yeah.
So what was life like? What was it like growing up in St. James? So people who never experienced St. James, what was that like?
For me, it was different from other people because Daddy had his 2 girl children very sheltered. So, well, other people could have been a little more on the streets,
Right.
which was very safe. We were very, very sheltered.
The streets was safe at that time, right? It wasn't.
Very safe.
So where you sheltering you from?
Yeah, so, but it's his girl children,
I
you know,
guess.
and that's how fathers feel about their girls.
Well, I guess
They're
even then.
very protective of their girls. The boys, okay,
Free reign.
yeah.
I would have think that back then everybody was more, because now you see people talk about the most is crime and keeping the children safe and keeping them home. I would have thought that back then everybody just roaming free.
Yeah, most of the people.
Not the
but
girls.
We couldn't. We couldn't, but it was nice.
Right.
It was nice.
Okay.
Because all the properties were open. Nobody was fenced.
Right.
So you could have gone from one yard to the other without really going out in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And then cricket playing in the streets because it didn't have much traffic.
Right.
So football playing in the streets. So you're in the mix. Although you're out, you're in.
Right. Okay. And
it
you
was
went to
nice.
school in Mokrapo Girls, right? In St. James there,
Of
sir?
course, Mokrapo Girls, yeah.
Mokrapo was still in that same building it's in
Of
now,
course,
wasn't it?
yeah.
So really similar.
But we were divided in 3.
Mm-hmm.
The like standards, after standards 1.
Right.
From preschool to standard 1 was in the building at the corner, which now houses a pharmacy.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So the junior school was up there.
Okay.
And then we had another building, that was the middle school. That was from standard 2 to standard 2 and 3.
Right.
And then we had the big school, which was standard 5 to post-primary.
But that building is right next door to the school now, that library building. Well, it
It's
used to be
still
the library at one point,
Yeah,
now
it's
it's the
still there.
pharmacy.
Mhm.
But it's
The
right
library
next to the
used to
school
be there.
compound.
The library used to be downstairs.
Okay.
And then the
That's
school
right.
was upstairs.
Oh, understand. And from there, so you walk into school them time by yourself, or how that used to go?
Well, everybody was going there. Lois was there, Maria was there.
Okay.
So,
Everybody was going together.
Yeah.
You have your crew. And from there was St. Francois.
St. Francois.
So now you leave St. James, you're out.
Out and back.
How you was going St. Francois?
But in those days, there used to be a bus called Belmont Roxy. So what used to happen is this bus used to leave from Roxy.
Right.
Those who know St. James,
Right, where
Roxy
Pizza Hut is
Cinema
now.
there, that roundabout, it used to leave from there and go to Belmont and back. So that was the Belmont Roxy bus. So we used to walk up there because there were quite a few girls around. It could be about 5 of us, who were going St. Francois.
Okay.
So we would walk up there on mornings,
Right.
get the bus for 7 o'clock, and the bus would drop us by Pigot Corner, and we walk up the Valley Road.
And then do the same when it's time to come back down.
Well, in the evening, the bus was a kind of hit and miss.
So what is that?
When you miss, if you're leaving school at 2:30, 2:45,
Right.
we used to walk through the savannah and walk home.
Okay. Or walk all the way home.
Yeah.
So walk down the hill, walk through the savannah, walk home.
And walk home. But if for some reason you had to stay in school a little later, then you had to go downtown and get a taxi.
Yeah.
But we used to walk downtown.
Relatively safe, no issues.
Yeah,
I know if anybody trying that now, not to walk through the middle of the savannah, that might be kind of risky.
That's out. That's out.
It's too dangerous.
That is out.
So where in the journey for this thing? Because every time I hear feedback from you, I want to say the same about Auntie Merle. I always hear that the best part of the podcast is the calypso. So where in this journey as a youth you get exposed or start to like calypso and that kind of thing?
Wow. You're sending us back some.
Yeah, okay. We're here to go back. You're
sending back some years. Yes. No, I remember that I had always liked Best Village.
Okay.
But being so sheltered, I could not join a Best Village group.
Right.
But fortunately or unfortunately, my father passed when I was in Form 2.
Okay, so you get freedom.
Right?
Right.
So in Form 2, well, from the day I went into St. Francois, I made friends with Carol Derrick.
Okay.
And Carol, she lives on the same spot actually in Pitty Valley. Carol lived Pitty Valley, I was in St. James. And those days, Valley taxis would pass through St. James.
Okay. Pitty Valley.
So, yes. So we used to go to Best Village shows.
Right.
And after we would come down and we'd take a taxi, those days cars used to pass across Park Street. So you could get a car by the corner of Henry and Park Street going west, and we would take the same car.
Park Street going west. Park Street was both directions.
Both
them days?
directions.
Okay.
It was two-way.
Okay.
Didn't have that many cars. So we take a car, both of us take the same car, and I would get out in St. James, and she would continue to Pitty Valley. But the thing is, you know, Best Village used to go really late, huh?
Right.
So we had this thing. We had no phone home, you know.
Of course.
But when we get out the car, I used to tell Carol, call me when they reach. Loud. For the taxi driver, tell you, call me when they reach. We had no phone. We had no
So that is a safety
phone.
measure that you're making.
Yeah.
I go to school in the SAG,
But,
so
you know, we never encountered any kind of danger.
Okay.
So that was kind of a first kind of dip into the culture.
All right. But where was Best Village in them times?
In the savannah.
Okay.
In the savannah. So we walk down Frederick Street. And
What I know about Best Village, right, as you bring that up, I thought that Best Village, so the Savannah is the Best Village competition for all the villages that participate in, right? So St. James had a Best Village, I know what to call it.
St. James
Cookeried.
Cookery.
Okay. So they would be, you know where they used to practice and where they used to be? Are you a part of
Youth
that as well?
Center.
Which youth center? Up
St.
by,
James Youth Center.
up where they build the buildings now, where HGC have some apartments and
Yeah.
something there now and now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I could not have gone there. I could not have gone there.
Because of daddy?
Yeah. I was unheard of.
But Michael and Austin, them going
They
anywhere?
did everything and anything. But and I'm not Austin so much, but
Right.
Michael beat Tassa.
Okay.
And yeah, but all of us were exposed to Hussey
Okay.
because Daddy built Hussey.
Right.
So what used to happen, especially in the last 10 days where they do the prayer and fasting and so on, he used to take us to see that part of the thing where they would pray and all that.
Okay.
And then we would stay on for a while and help make some decorations, and then he will take us back around
Right.
home, and then he would go back and
But those days, the Hussein is on Clarence Street where it is now.
Clarence Street.
Mother always used to tell me about that time the Hussein was right next door where we were on Anderson Street.
I don't know about
You don't know that at all? Okay. So Clarence Street, you know, the thing about talking to people from St. James is that Balmer Yard on Clarence Street seemed to be one of the most...
popular.
yeah.
And it still is.
Yeah, it's
It
like that still,
is.
right?
It still is.
And many people, because when I hear... I was watching an interview the other day with Pelham Goddard, who you know, growing up in St. James
Oh
too.
yeah. Pelham lived on Clarence Street.
Right, and
So
he
the
and all
heart
this talk
of
about that.
Hussein.
So when they asked him about the start of his musical journey, he always credits that,
Hussein.
and it's so interesting because that Hussein itself wouldn't be really connected to Carnival and the same like a religious festival and thing. But St. James was just that kind of place. Even when I was there.
Everybody participated in every single thing.
Yeah.
Regardless of what religion.
Of course.
Everybody, you know.
St. James just stayed that way over the years. So best village is where you would say would introduce you, your first introduction to the culture.
Yeah.
So by the time Form 2, anytime past Form 2, all you're in that.
We're out there.
And I always talk about, I remember doing a month where I dedicated the podcast to the Calypso tent. Because I feel for me, that is where I will say that even before the tent, you used to play Calypso. You used to play Dave Elcock. You used to play that every morning on the way to Newton. And Dave Elcock was more, you know, I didn't hear him playing a whole lot of Calypso. But I know for sure, any other time I'm in your car, I remember two things. That's why I started with the Tambu. We had some Tambu to play this episode.
Oh boy.
But I remember Tambu album being one that I played over. We used to listen. I had probably known all of it, along with David Rudder.
Yeah.
That was it. So that was the two on rotation in the car going down the road.
Yeah.
So I had to ask you, Nicole, if up to today you had to choose one Calypsonian, one soca artist, we need to know who's your favorite.
That hard.
I'll give you a top 5.
Really hard.
It's hard.
seriously hard?
It is.
That is so hard.
Who up there?
Kitchener.
Kitchener on the list.
Yeah, Kitchener. I like Stalin.
Right.
But back in the day, I preferred to hear Stalin than to see him perform.
Mm.
But later on, he got a little more interactive.
So he wasn't very. He was.
To me.
Right.
He wasn't that interactive
Okay,
at the
okay.
beginning, but his calypsos,
Mhm.
you know, they always hit home. You know who I have really, really liked, but he passed on very early? He sang Bionic Man.
Exactly. Look for Bionic Man Calypso. I know who you're talking
Yes.
about. Not much.
Of course, back in the day, I was a big David Rudder fan.
Right. That I remember. That's when I started coming around now.
Yeah. I like David Rudder.
Yeah. So is
And I'd always like Explainer. Maestro.
Maestro.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Miss Bionic.
Maestro.
He would have passed away when he was young.
Very
he was
young.
really.
Yeah, very young.
So all that
And at
catalog was a
Independence Morning.
really.
Yeah.
You know, I found that when I was doing the research for the episode, I was talking about George Bailey. One of his brothers passed away recently. He was really, really young when he died.
Yeah.
He was accomplished a
George Bailey
lot
was young,
at
yeah.
a young
He
age.
was young.
So in terms of back then, right, when you
I
come
also like Tambu.
Yeah,
Tambu was my boy.
Tambu was what 97, 88 and 89 or 87, 88 Road March back to back.
Well, my connection with Tambu and David Rudder is because I used to line with Charlie's Roots because
Right.
of Pelham.
Okay.
You know, so
So them
that
days,
was the
Pelham is a
connection.
ranger and playing keyboard for Charlie's Roots.
Yeah.
Okay. So the band circuit was another avenue for you to get into the
Yeah, and
culture.
then, well, when my father was with Songrev and so on.
So outside of them, who was the big band? Songrev, Charlie's Roots. Fireflight was big at that time?
Flight was around, and Carl and Carl with
Yeah,
I don't know
no.
what their band.
Yeah, I know the band. They end up with Charlie's Roots at some point too.
No,
Carl and Carol was always on their own.
no. they were always on
Oh,
their
I didn't know that. I thought they were Charlie's Roots.
No.
But so who was headlining with David Rudder? There was some other popular. Is it Anselm Douglas? Somebody came after David Rudder in Charlie's Roots.
With David Rudder and Tambu.
Oh, David Rudder and Tambu. Okay,
David
gotcha.
Rudder and Tambu.
Right. Okay. And Colin Lucas in Song
In
Rev.
Songrev, yeah.
Okay. So now from that band circuit to the tent, outside of carrying me to children's shows and those things which you used to do a lot, that was something that you used to do? You used to go
Yeah.
to the tent a lot?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the bands was fets basically, or is shows and concerts and
Yeah,
that kind of thing
yeah.
too. Lions and them places, where was it some of the places that
Everywhere,
yeah. You ain't missing them.
Lions, Chinese,
Right.
St. John's.
Well, that's the avenues. But them days, David Rudder and Tambu singing popular songs or only their songs?
Only their songs after a while. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember reading something about Fireflight recently with Carl Beaver Henderson pushing the idea that a band in our culture don't necessarily have to be just one genre of music. And he was talking about singing different pop music and them kind of things
Yeah,
in the
because
mix.
outside of Carnival, when you playing, you just don't go with calypso music. You do,
Right.
you know, a
Okay.
wide repertoire.
Yeah, I guess. So the bands then, outside of Carnival, they were in Trinidad playing in fetes and parties and things?
Yeah.
Because that's not the case like now. I mean, now
No.
it hardly are bands.
Yeah.
You could count the amount
Yeah,
of, maybe
yeah.
Roy Cape and them still
Because
around.
It's very expensive.
It's expensive. And I think the taste of the fete changed too.
Yeah.
Because I remember a time when I would not go a fete if you don't have a band. I don't see the point of going a DJ fete. How the DJ fete was big back then, or it was just the band fete?
No.
Yeah.
The DJ was just a filler
Right.
when you're changing over bands because in those days everybody used to use one stage.
Right.
So when the band's changing over, that's when the DJ will play. Otherwise, the DJ wasn't.
Yeah, you know that important.
Yeah, because actually people didn't used to dance when the DJ playing. Yeah, when the DJ playing, you go by the bar, you go by, you know.
Okay.
But the DJ
So
wasn't
physically
popular.
change over bands, because suppose you had to plug up and all them
Yes,
things. Okay,
yeah.
okay. So one of the things that before I even get back into the culture, I don't want to speed past the upbringing as well, because I have a lot of things I talk about on this podcast that I want to bring out. And one of them is I always talk about my own education, starting in places like Toko and Blanchisseuse and Granville and all those things. I always say that you, along with Auntie Saka, when she rest in peace, you always used to take us all the time in the country for the weekend thing. Where that start from? What was the genesis behind that? Is it just a normal getaway, or was that is that deliberate education for your children? What was that?
Actually, before I had you, we used to. at random on a weekend. It was Lois. We had 2 cousins in South who were nurses, Austin, and 2 other friends.
Right.
We used to go different places for the weekend, Granville, Las Cuevas, and that kind of thing. So we used to do that. And then when your father came around, we used to do that too. So it was a natural progression to do that
Which,
when we had children.
yeah, because it's such a... I always credit that too for my appreciation of culture. Because outside of just the music, you tend, as a young age, you have a sense for what the country looks like, what it feels like, how different areas have their own vibe, their own accent, their own way of living and them types of things. Well, unfortunately, I don't carry Zachary nowhere. I don't think I am.
In those days, you really couldn't afford to be flying here, there, and everywhere.
I suppose your staycation
you have
is
limited funds. You have limited funds. So basically, you pack up all the groceries that you would have used over that period.
Okay, got you.
And you take it and you
Cook and everything down there.
Yeah.
It's true, it's true. Because I always remember partaking in whatever the village had.
Yeah.
Buy from the fishermen.
You go and buy fish, you buy the mangoes, whatever.
Yeah, it's so different now than going somewhere for a weekend. You know, when you get to go somewhere and you're there for a long time, I find you get to absorb some of the culture in the different areas. And that in itself is one of the things that, for me, make me start appreciating the music too. Because on a long drive like that, you have no choice. You're going to hear a lot of calypso and them things going on the road. So I remember I couldn't appreciate Kitchener and them at all. At that age, I just wanted to hear Tambu and David Rudder and them. It was more youthful to me. But I remember in particular one of them long drives, boy, going down to, I can't remember where the place was. And Kitchener and Sparrow and them things was playing. And what was marveling to me at the time was, we didn't hear the same song twice. And them days, it's not no half hour and 45 minutes to reach nowhere. The drive was long. The cars wasn't as fast and the road wasn't as good. So when I heard, I couldn't believe. I was like, nah, there's no way one person could have all them set of songs and they come up. So I think that made me start appreciating the artists and the Calypsonian a lot more. But you have a part of artists and Calypsonian that I don't hear you talk about much. I want to fast forward to Telco Calypso competition. Right?
Yeah.
And try to understand, what was your role in the Calypso competition in Telco days?
Well, my role was basically organizer.
Right.
Right? Is to help organize the competition and so on. And at the beginning, I used to introduce Tommy Joseph,
Right.
who was our resident
MC.
for the show.
Right.
So I would introduce Tommy Joseph, and then that was it. But then one year, my very good friend and co-worker at Telco at the time entered the competition, Rose.
Right, I remember that.
Called Telco Rose.
Right.
Rose was singing in the competition and a backup Rose.
I didn't know this.
A backup Rose, man. And Rose won the competition.
I remember that.
Rose won the competition that year.
Right.
And then for the 100th anniversary of telecommunications in Trinidad, we had a lot of activities. We had a Queen Show and all that.
Right.
And the Queen Show was at Spectacular Forum at the time. That was on Henry Street. We had a show there, and Rose sang, and I'll do back up again.
Yeah.
But I actually MC that show.
So that would be the first show you MC fully?
Not really.
Yeah, how you end up in this MC role?
I used to MC Sports Day.
So Sports Day was where it started off?
Sports Day was where it started.
Now, for anybody who would remember, or for those who don't know, those corporate sports days back then was a big thing. Yeah. It used to be, I remember going in Arima Velodrome, Skinner Park, Fatima Grounds. I remember many sports days.
Move all over.
It was, and we had in Tobago before as well.
We used to move all over.
And it was, it's traffic blocking type of business we're talking. It was a big thing when Telco had or TSTT, when it came to that, had a sports day. So how you end up with your role to MC, because that is no easy work to be a master of ceremonies for an hour is one thing, but for a whole day, how you end up in that position?
I really can't remember. You know? I really can't remember. But I did it.
Right.
And in the last, I could say probably the last 5 or 6 years when I was there, we had introduced aerobics.
Okay.
And aerobics used to come on at 5 o'clock in the evening. And I was a very active part of the aerobics group.
I remember that. Every day he was in aerobics class on our lunchtime.
Yeah, lunchtime and evening.
Right.
Right. So we used to do a routine.
Mm-hmm.
And then this Sunday or 2 Sundays before sports day, we used to have a 5K.
Right.
Right? And we used to perform there first at the 5K. That was in the evening after announcing whole day.
Yeah.
Before we used to have like all fours and
His
table
whole
tennis.
day. You remember they used to have a thing where they used to have a greasy pole? That's something I'll never forget. They used to put a bottle of rum on top of a pole and men had to climb.
And for the last 5 years, it was really, really tiring because remember, I am announcing from like 7 o'clock in the morning, calling teams to order and all that.
And what time you're there from?
Going
If
right
you're
to
starting at
5 o'clock
7,
in the
I'm
morning.
sure.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Right? That was the call to order time. And then to come at 5 o'clock in the evening and put on an aerobics display that lasted for not less than 15, 20 minutes.
Wow.
That was a lot.
15, 20 minutes extra board in the aerobics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because how much training you had to be able to MC thing at that point? You ever did training and thing for it?
No. Never.
And your role is to not just announce the thing, but keep the thing going. Because if anybody ever see a sports day, they might have a lull between races. They might have teams getting organized. TSTT at the time or Telco used to have a full match pass with all the different.
That was a full parade.
Oh yeah, full parade.
At one time, you'll think it was a carnival show.
Yeah.
Because people used to actually come in costumes.
Right.
And all that.
Yeah, so for the listener to get a sense of what I was like, because I don't know, you sports days now, I think it's a whole different thing if they have them, sports and family
but
day.
Sports days, they're not creeping back because
Right.
of the pandemic.
Right.
Right? But it you know,
Yeah.
it is very costly.
There it is.
It is very costly.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, especially when you all have teams from all over the country, you had to come up and it's transport and whole day. But it's a vibe that I feel in companies especially. It used to have a togetherness with the employees, with the team.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I always talk about that. I hear you say it too. Like I work in TSTT for much shorter than you. I must have worked from late 90s to maybe 2006 at best, right? On and off too.
On and off, yeah.
And because of you and being around the company, I had known a lot of people and a lot of faces. A lot of them know me. But now when you go in them companies, you don't know nobody.
Anybody.
And people don't know one another either.
No.
So I saw recently, I was in the gas station on Cepero, on Rushwood Street in San Fernando. And a fella come up to me. And I'm watching the fella, I don't know the fella from nowhere. And he said, Corey, how you going, boy? So I tell myself I was a podcast fan. I said, well, all right, I'm in the game. Somebody know me. But you know who it was? It was a fellow by the name of Roger Rogers. You remember Roger?
Yeah.
And I can never forget that name because Roger was a man who used to win all the races.
Yes,
in Telco. So he was a popular fellow around the company and everybody knows, people know you. I always remember Jeffrey Robinson as well. Friend of the family too, talking about me being a little child on the track.
Yes.
He said your mother announcing, somebody please get the boy in the flowered shirt off the track, the racers are coming, and he say you announce that what treat, and he said get Corey off the track. So it's interesting to know that you never had the training. Nobody listening to that would have thought that you're hearing somebody who learning to do it as they go along and getting better and better. How long you think you did that sports day for in total? How much years?
That could have been about 15, 20 years.
Wow. So somewhere...
I worked there for 33 years and 6 months.
What was the year you went into TSTT?
I went into TSTT in 1971, I think.
Wow. And what year you retired?
I can't remember.
33 years after that. So it's 33 years from 1971. And half of the years you're there, you're doing the sports day.
Yeah.
So you're organizing and announcing.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
And not just organizing, all the prizes and so on. I
It's
used
true.
to go and buy.
It's true.
And
Or
then-
go and buy them?
Yes. In addition to organizing the races, the actual program of itself.
Okay.
And then even in addition to that, we used to have a huge children's Christmas party.
Right. I forget
So
about
that was
that.
part of it too, and going to source prizes.
So the committee who was
going to
doing the
source gifts
sports,
and so on,
it was one committee doing the sports and the Christmas party and all that?
more or less, yeah.
So for the Christmas party, you had no sort of, outside of the work to organize the thing and thing, on the day, you had also the work to do, or was that?
course.
What you was doing then?
Announcing,
Wait, had to announce then.
distributing.
It's that thing to announce in a Christmas party.
Of course. Yeah, when the Bouncy Castle started.
I
when
suppose.
the, you know,
I remember that being in K-Donner.
yeah.
That's where it used to be all the time.
No,
Okay.
no. We had it in Lions and then it started
Oh,
growing.
yeah, it was
so,
big.
Yeah.
By the time I was there,
And
it was a
then we
big
used to have to
thing.
go to Tobago too,
Right.
to have the children's Christmas party in Tobago.
To do two in the same year, or you just do it, you
Same year.
alternate it? Same year.
Could have been a week apart.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had no formal training on the MC side. You had formal training in project management, organizing.
Nah.
So how you end up in this thing? Out of a company and how much thousands of people? How you end up in that?
And I had my day job.
Right, of course. Yeah, you
I
in,
had to do
yeah, you had to do your work.
my work because my work was when I started, I was in HR.
Right.
At that time I was what I would call a leave clerk. I used to process leave.
Right.
And then when I got promoted and so on, I was a loans officer. So people come in at random anytime to see me, and you have a deadline to meet.
Of course.
Because your loans have to be in at a certain time on a certain
Yeah, for people
date
to get the money.
for the people to get the checks on a Friday.
Right.
Never miss a deadline.
Well, I wish I could say the
Never
same.
miss a deadline.
I wish I could. When you say that, all these people thinking how much time the podcast may come out on a Tuesday. I never miss a deadline either, though. But that's you just really throwing yourself into something, figuring it out and getting it done at a high level.
Yeah.
And the Calypso competition, I suppose, is a natural transition at that point. Anything TSTT having with need a MC or announcer.
Yeah.
Because I remember you announcing for retirement things for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like whatever they had.
Yes, and then I remember the finance division.
Right.
That was what it was. The finance division had they had a whole day like seminar where everybody in finance got together, and I hosted that too.
So use the
And
default.
that was really my first time in that kind of setting.
Yeah, so
It
you had to
wasn't
adjust every
sports.
time. Yeah, it's
It
not
wasn't
sports, it's not
Calypso.
Calypso. So it's formal now.
Yeah, it was cross your T's and dot your I's and
So is there anybody you used to look at to pattern yourself after in that world, or you just
No.
figure it out as you go along?
you know,
Well, that's amazing how you. So I'm just trying to get people to get a sense from where I get this from, right? Because that is something else. Where did the Calypso competition move from Tommy Joseph to you? Or did you used to MC the
No.
whole show?
Tommy used to MC the whole show. I just
Okay.
used to introduce Tommy.
Well, I remember one time in particular being there, and it was at that time there was a lot of, I don't know if you call it clash or what, but like when Telco had it was Ajax Street at the time. Remember them days?
Yeah.
That's where government campus is more or less now,
yeah.
right? And what's the name of the band? Wayne Bruno and the All Stars?
Yeah.
Right. And he recently passed away as well.
Yeah. Wayne and the drummer, Barry.
That's right, yeah, Barry.
Barry.
Howard is
In
his name,
quick
right?
quick succession, you know.
They were the
In
foundation
about 2
men.
months' time, yeah.
So I remember going in Ajax Street. What was Ajax Street to TSTT?
It was a work center.
a work center. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's similar to Superior Road or down
Both the,
Frederick Street now.
The outside plant people used to operate from there.
Okay, gotcha. So even there's a workstation now almost next to Nelson Exchange. Same type of setup,
Yeah,
right?
that's where it moved to.
Ah, okay,
The
okay,
Ajax
gotcha.
Street Work Center moved there.
Right. So I remember being small, and being at the rehearsals. When the Calypsonians come in to do the thing. I remember London as one person who sticks out. They have a few, I can't remember the name. If there's a fellow named St. Louis or St. Clair too or something
Yeah,
like that.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah,
Yeah, he would have won a year too.
yeah.
Yeah, there were some of the popular people who were in the
Birch.
competition. Yeah, it's
Birch
true.
was one of the early winners.
Murchison Brown, right?
Birch.
Who's Birch now?
He used to sing with Daisy Forza.
Yeah.
Leroy Birch.
No, but the one who's played Quattro, he wasn't in TST.
Leroy Birch.
That's
yeah.
his name?
Yeah.
Oh, I said
From
Murchison
South.
Brown was the mayor. It's
Murchison
true.
Brown was the
Birch
mayor.
is what we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
So he had won that competition only.
A couple of years.
Was that Telco employee coming up?
Yeah.
Oh,
in
okay,
San
okay.
Fernando.
Yeah.
And then we had Gervais. He
Right.
passed on. He sings.
Yeah.
He used to sing with
It's Scrunter and them, Lo Sabor.
Sabor.
Yeah, one of the baddest Quattro man I ever hear.
Yeah,
and he
the
was around.
voice.
Yeah.
Up to this
Distinct.
morning, we listened to him coming out.
Yeah.
on the radio.
You can't mess
Can't
with him
miss
at all.
it.
He's
Can't
something
miss
else,
it.
boy.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of them would have been talent coming out from there.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of talent who would have made it from those competitions? Whether it's TSTT, Textile, not Textile, T and Tech used to have a big one as well.
Yeah.
They used to make it into the regular tent. The people, you had many people who cross over.
The person who sang in a regular tent but never really came to the competition is Devon Seals.
Okay.
But he used to perform every year
Right.
at the
All right.
the competition.
As a guest.
Yeah,
Okay.
every year. But he never came to the competition.
Ah. Because that's when the thing started turning into a festival. You have plenty guest artists. That was ever
Yeah.
since?
Yeah, we used to have.
Yeah. Well, that's why I get the impression of you announcing the whole show. Because I remember a time you introduced an Iowa George.
Yeah, but that's when Tommy had to leave because he had to do his thing in Spectacular.
I guess, yeah.
So if Tommy had to leave,
You taking
then,
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big step, you know. I mean, you saying that
And
like
then-
that's a small thing.
And then, and then too, I remember we used to get invited to various companies.
Right.
And one year we went down to Flour Mills. Actually, it happened 2 years. We went down to Flour Mills to their Calypso competition, and it was Errol Fabian was supposed to
Be
MC,
announcing.
and Errol Fabian was late, so I had to start the show.
For Flour Mills and
For
them.
Flour Mills. And then one year at TN Tech, Rachel Price came late,
Right.
and I had to start the
So
show.
you was comfortable in them spaces. If they asked you to do, you could.
I just do it.
Yeah, that is amazing. So you never had stage fright. So much people be frightened to talk in front of people, and that.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and you
Well,
done.
not even 2 minutes. Because I am not a comedian.
Right.
So I'm not going to try to do what Errol Fabian did or what Rachel Price did.
Right.
I couldn't do that. That was not my forte.
Right.
So I would welcome everybody and, you know.
Yeah, that's memorable
That
for
was
me
it.
because you used to keep that professionalism. The flow, the show used to keep flowing, and those days. You're talking about long shows. This is not
Yeah.
a 2-hour, 3-hour
Yeah,
show
it
you're
was
talking
long.
about. This is from day into the night time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. You see, just like what you say, you didn't get much freedom from your father. I had plenty freedom in them time because I know you on the stage. I could do what I want. When you come off, I behave a little bit. It's beautiful. So one of the other hats you wear that I wanted to explore as well is how your transition into the credit union and how come the credit union movement became so much a part of what you do.
Okay. I can't remember who approached me, but I always used to attend credit union AGM.
Right.
This is where it started. I always used to attend credit union AGMs, and I used to ask a lot of questions.
Right.
So you'd find anytime you go to those kinds of forums and you ask a lot of questions, they try to pull you in
You're less
so
interested.
that you wouldn't put their backs against a wall, so that you will have to answer so many questions.
Yeah, they're on the
so when
inside.
you're part of the team.
Ask your questions in private is what it's.
Yeah. So that's how it started, and I served on the supervisory committee first.
Right.
And the second term I served, I was pregnant with you,
Right.
and I couldn't finish the term, and then I went back, and I was an alternate on the board, and I served on the board for several years until I resigned.
Okay. So what the credit union movement, I always tell people, I have a guest who comes on from time to time, named Nick Dean, who is a financial advisor. I like Nick for his pragmatic way of looking at finances. Nick unemotional. Nick is just saying, listen, if you have your goals, this is what it is. This is how you set it up. You have to be consistent. You have to follow through. And I always tell Nick that you are one of the people who I've seen do that with with little at times. Sometimes I don't even know how little, and you're making it happen and being so consistent with it. Is that part of the credit union movement? You think it's helpful with that, or your own financial mindset and so on? How much the credit union
I
contributes
learned
to
a lot along the way.
it? Right.
I really, really did learn a lot from a lot of various people. And I ended up counseling people financially because I ended up being the company loans officer. I used to process.
suppose.
And we had all different kinds of loans in the company. We had vacation loans, we had medical loans.
And this will be separate from credit union loans, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I used to, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you just finding things to do.
I used to make people do some things. For instance, in the last couple of years, the company introduced a housing plan.
Right.
And the housing plan was managed by Republic Bank. Now, if you know these banks, they're very strict
Right.
on how they disburse mortgage loans
Of course.
in particular.
Of course, yeah, it's plenty.
Right? So you had to actually have like zero debt to qualify for a mortgage loan with Republic Bank.
Right.
The thing is, Republic Bank, because they had forged into this relationship, they were offering like 90%, which was unheard of.
Right.
Because most finance companies at the time were offering like 70 and 80%, and you had to find the rest. But they had offered. Anyway, but to do that, you had to have zero debt. And I don't know if I should.
Yeah, most people in
I don't know if I should say this
the
here, but
here good.
I used to advise people to go by the credit union.
Right.
Ask for an appointment with the credit committee. Ask the credit committee to pay a loan over the counter for 3 months.
Oh, so it's not on your pay slip. The statute of limitations pass. You can't get in no trouble for that.
And go by the public bank. And plenty people get through.
Of course.
Plenty people get through. I said no. Just to feel the people.
Of course. Yeah, you have to make sure you keep
pay.
up your obligation to both now.
You know, make sure you pay.
Well, I guess with the company, it's coming out every month regardless. They come in before you get your pay.
Yeah.
It's coming out directly.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, like anybody you
So
talk...
your net pay will look good.
Right.
And you have no loan.
At the
So
Republic
you
Bank.
could pay a mortgage.
Nice.
Right?
So you seem to somewhere along the line develop a knack for throwing yourself into things where you know nothing about, figuring it out, and operating at a high level. Because this story you're telling me about loans, I hear that from people within the company while I was working there too. I've never heard anybody say nothing bad about you. As I always tell you and Daddy, this is a story I always tell Daddy, right? He was working, them times it was Cellnet. It wasn't even B-Mobile yet. And he was my manager there, I believe. And I hear a fella come in complaining like a contractor in Park Street. He say, boy, them people and them know what they're doing and they corrupt and thing up there, they take him. So I waiting to hear his name called. No, he called all kind of name. I say, so what Kobe? he said, nah, he cool. And I think it was the same with you, that no matter where, so many different parts of the company, everybody know you. You know more people than who know you in the company. Everybody know your name. Between payroll, loans, sports days, Calypso, everybody know you. And I've never heard nobody had nothing bad to say. They say, well, use Sheppard-Babb, son. You know what I mean? And that is the end of conversation. So it shows that you had some kind of ability to figure these things out as you go along and execute at the highest possible levels. So fast forward all the way to the best day of your life, the 17th of February, 1980, right? The happiest day. I go say it for you if you didn't plan to say it. I want to know because you're always telling me that I like Bacchanal so much. I born on a carnival Sunday morning.
It's Juve morning, not Sunday morning.
It's Juve morning.
And my best part of carnival was Juve.
And
I hear a steel band coming down from St. Anne's, boy.
Beautiful.
Pain.
So sure it's not the steel band was causing the pain and not me. The pain might be that you want to go and play maths. But that, I just see that had nothing to do with me, and that's showing your love for the culture and thing that you find your way to Charlotte Street. Which part you was them times? Not Charlotte Street, where I was born again?
No, Cascade.
Well, you was out of the mix, man. How much pan and thing you could hear? Just one steel band coming down?
Steel band coming down, yeah.
Heading to the savannah.
Yeah. Heading downtown.
Right. So that is a whole cultural experience. I'm grateful for that upbringing that have me here where the more I get into it is the more want to know. And as I always tell people on the podcast, you are one of the main people I call because the hardest thing in this country is to do research about any one of these things. I mean, I enjoy those the most because I guess I learn a lot when it's explained or whoever. So unfortunately, you only get to do it when they pass away sometimes. But half the things I do is to call you. You know what I mean? I have a list of people, you know. Auntie Gertrude was one, God bless her soul. Kenny, Alfred, Daddy. And there's some people who you piece together a lot of the history and the culture from people who are part of it. And there's one more question about the culture I want to ask you before we move on to what we come here to talk about. We done nearly an hour, you know?
Yeah.
But you always talk about, there's this song by Blakey, Steel Band Clash, that's talking about invaders and them bouncing up on Park Street and this fight. Yeah. Before talking to you, I never knew this was a real thing. I thought it was a Calypsonian who make up a song. You said you had some experiences seeing Steel Band Clash on thing. What was it like? What was your experience with that?
The thing about it is, we used we had this family tradition that we used to go in the bleachers in the savannah for carnival.
Right.
So the family from St. James and the family from Belmont would meet, and we would all be there, children, adults, everything. So at the end of the day, Belmont people go on Belmont and we walking along St. James. So obviously, we waiting for Tripoli.
Right.
Because Tripoli in our backyard, they're the next corner.
Tripoli was right around the corner in St. James, you
Right
say,
around
right?
the corner. So we coming down. But we had to pass in front of Invaders.
Invaders is where it is now, is on
Yeah, it was
opposite the
always
oval?
there. Was always there.
Okay.
Passing in front of Invaders. And as we approaching Lewis Street, Invaders decide a shower of bottles. Bottle. You only seeing bottles up in the sky.
Right. Of course.
So the adults now get on a wall
Right.
and surround the children. And the children behind the adults. But they're feeling all these
Of
splinters
course,
on their
everything.
foot. And they throw up their bottles, how many ever bottles they had to throw up, and everything finish and band regroup.
So who they pelting bottle at?
I tell you, they're just kind bottle.
For what? I don't understand.
Because that was the culture.
Oh my God.
That was the culture. When they finish sky, how many ever bottles they plant the sky.
They play
Band
the music.
regroup, steel band man come back behind the pan, and we going down the road.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. And only going back next year.
But,
This is crazy.
but after a while, you know,
Yeah. It fade away?
yeah, everybody mature.
Okay, good.
Like, that was,
That's not it.
yeah.
Yeah. Steel band had to be most peaceful. It's amazing how things change, because now when I play mass, for instance, one of the things I enjoy is when I'm walking back from whichever mass camp and I'm coming across the main road. This is nighttime now. You're seeing 5-6 different steel band and smaller. But you see them playing going along the main road, or they have little corners they're playing on and stuff. And I guess that's the same badge on them from long time, then get old now.
No, the Bajan from a long time, they sit down in the pan yard. They sit down in the pan yard and drink whole day.
Yeah. Or in a snack it. They don't know
near
that.
the pan yard.
Yeah.
And drink whole day.
Interesting. So I want to get to what we come to talk about, but I had to play Calypso. Remember this song? I think your cassette must be finished playing this.
The journey now start. The journey is now start. I was drifting on a lonely sea when a voice kept calling out to me. Keep on calling.
Yes?
I was shaking like a frightened child. I was shaking. Was up in the cold, and I had nowhere to hide. I heard son, come. Don't be afraid. You just start your mission. The waters will be rough. Have faith and you will make it all the way up. 'Cause the journey now start.
The journey it now start. Like, funny you should say this, right? When I watching the artwork for this, there's a big Charlie's roots on it. In my mind, Tambo is an independent artist, So when he went in them road march, he with Charlie's roots at the time.
Yeah.
Who knew? See the history. So we fast forward in plenty here for anybody who listens, because I remember plenty years of primary school, reaching to school. I always tell Zachary I used to reach to school 5-6 in the morning. Sometimes the school ain't open me yet. She used to drop me early. I used to wait by the belfry before the school could open and unlock to go inside. Fast forward to Fatima and all them years, and Yui. I remember being put through Yui. One of the stories I always tell about my mother is I remember my mother giving me a car to go to drive to Yui to play the fool and then pass no subjects and travel to work for a long time before she get back a new car. And one of the things you spoke about there is all the years I know you, whether it's Anderson Street, we moved to Eligon Avenue, we moved to Matura Street. One of the things I had known you for was your commitment to exercise and health and fitness.
Yep.
Lunchtime every day, anything after work, Tuesday and a Thursday. That is when I get my freedom too. I know Tuesday and Thursday coming home late, I on the block, you know what I mean? And that was the case while I was in Newton, while I was in Fatima, while I was in UE, and up to today. What's your routine like on a weekly basis where health and fitness is concerned? No.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. Before COVID,
Right.
I used to go out at 4:30 every morning
Right, and walk.
in Mandela Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be there for about an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
And on a Tuesday and a Thursday, I'd go to the pool and do aqua aerobics.
Right.
That's after I retire.
Mm-hmm.
But before I retired, it used to be every day. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And since COVID, I do Pilates at home.
Mm-hmm.
And Tuesday and Thursday, I go to the pool.
Pilates at home what time?
5 o'clock.
I wanted to go back to a WhatsApp group, WhatsApp message I have from my mother here, right? And tell all you something real quick. Let me pull up mommy on WhatsApp. Because every day I sure to get a message at 4 a.m. Every single day, an inspirational message. What you be doing up at 4 a.m.?
Just that.
And then it's
And
exercise time.
and that's after I've gone through my prayer
Right.
time. I send out inspirational messages to some people.
Right.
And then go into exercise.
So sleep is not for you.
Huh?
Sleep is not for you. You're not on that.
What's that?
Sleep.
Yeah, man.
You ain't sleeping at all.
Yeah.
So I remember all these days on this health and fitness. And I remember being like out of the blue hearing that you dealing with breast cancer. It's never two things that I could never connect those two things in my mind, because I guess I might be being naive, but I always feel like the better you take care of yourself, the better you are. Right? And I don't know anybody who's taking care of yourself as much as you. You go overboard. Even at this age now, you're still doing a whole lot more than other people, because it's easy for people to say COVID, like me. It's COVID and thing. Me doing nothing. And now I had to fight to get back the health and fitness and all them things. But you just figure out a way to do it home or do it differently. Mm-hmm. So what was that like for you? What your diagnosis came when?
Okay. Actually, it was an evening after Keep Fit.
Right.
I was going home.
Mm-hmm.
And I always use my seatbelt, even before it was low.
Right.
Always use my seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular evening, I remember I put on the seatbelt and I felt uncomfortable. Because the seatbelt fit in right over.
Right.
And I felt uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I always used to do exams, I felt a little hardness.
Right.
So I thought that evening we had done weights. I say maybe,
It's the weightlifting. Mm-hmm.
But then I used to go every 3 months
Right.
by Dr. White to do a check.
Right. Best
Every
doctor is having
3
you
months
will.
as a rule.
Mm-hmm.
So it was coming up, so I didn't bother too much. I said,
Right.
it was about a week or so apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I went.
Mm-hmm.
And when he examined, he said, I do like how this looking. And he sent me by Dr. Funky Fong.
Right.
Funky Fong went through all the thing, talk. He said, I want to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
You say I had to do it, you had to do it.
Right, yeah.
So,
As with everything else you do in life, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he did it right there. It was painful. Because he take this needle and
God.
stick it right through without any kind of,
Yeah, them doctors brutal.
yeah, boy.
Yeah, they had to do what they
right
had to do.
through.
Yeah.
And just extracted.
So he do it in the office there one time?
Right there, yeah.
Oy. And where the office is? That's Sinclair at this point?
No,
or this
it
is
used to be on Warren Street, at the corner of Warren and Lewis Street.
Woodbrook? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he did that, but I was due to go on vacation that year.
Right.
That was 2001.
Right.
I was due to go on vacation. So I went on my vacation. I came back around the first week in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the first week in September when I came. Could have been the second week in September, and I came back.
Right.
And I saw all these missed calls from him.
Yeah, worried at this point.
So I called the office.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but I've been trying to find you. I said, well, I've been out of the country.
Right.
You know? He said, well, you need to come. You need to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I went at the earliest possible time.
Right.
And then he told me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So what was it like going hearing that news at that point? What?
Well, it was, of course, it was kind of shattering because you're talking about 2021. And in 2000 is when Auntie Maria died. In
Right,
February.
right.
So,
From cancer as well, right?
Yeah.
Was it pancreatic?
no, she had cancer of her womb.
Oh,
So
that's right.
it's-
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it was kind of shattering. So I went back to the office, and I remember going to my manager at the time, who was Marge Frampton Benskin, lovely lady.
Right.
I went to her and I told her, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I have to have surgery in the next couple of weeks.
It was that fast.
And immediately, yeah, because that was like the second week in September, and I had surgery the 1st of October.
Wow. Wow.
So immediately she said, no, we have to be this thing, we have to be this thing.
Is he manager?
She held my hand and she prayed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to my desk and I sat down and I don't know if it was the expression on my face, but Deborah came and she sat down by the desk. And I think I cried then.
Yeah.
And Deborah just sat there. She didn't ask anything. She just sat there. And I always appreciated
Chandler?
that. Yeah. I always appreciated that. And then I told her what was wrong and we just put things in motion. And that was it. But the thing about it is I didn't tell very many people that I was going to remove the breast.
Right. So at that point, they told you you had to do a mastectomy immediately?
Yeah.
From the biopsy?
Yeah.
I always thought that was something that would come up during surgery. So they know this in advance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they know what stage you're at.
I suppose.
So they will advise. It's up to you
I
to say
guess.
yeah or no.
Right, yeah.
So from there we started to organize and everything and we got everything in motion but I did not tell very many people that I was going to remove the breast. If I told anybody at all, I told them that they found a lump and I'm going to remove the lump because I needed positive energy.
Yeah.
If you know anything about me, positive energy. I didn't want anybody to say,
of course.
No, we're going through this with positive energy.
All right.
And I remember saying out loud to somebody, cancer is not going to kill me.
All right.
I could die by accident.
But not by
But
that.
cancer is not going to kill me. So we did the surgery on the 1st of October. That was a Monday. Wednesday morning, I was out. I think
Right.
you came.
I remember
Monday
seeing you in
night.
Sinclair. Yeah.
And by the Wednesday, I was out. And I was home. Mother was not in the country.
Oh, okay.
No, she was abroad. I didn't tell her anything.
Oh, no, really?
I didn't tell her anything until she came back.
Oh, God.
So I was there. Well, of course, my soldier was Gertrude.
Right, of course.
Yes.
As always, right?
Yeah. So Gertrude used to come down every evening and sleep overnight with me.
Right. I remember that too.
Yeah. So that was the journey.
That's
And
something
I
else.
always tell people going through cancer, it's a journey.
Right.
Because apart from all the doctor's visits, it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of medication. Well, not a lot,
Right.
but you're on a particular type of medication for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then you switch over to another 5. And then after that 10 years, it's, whatever.
They kind of see what happened at
But
that point?
It is tiring. It is tiring. When you're going through this treatment, it's tiring. And it's a tiredness that lasts for years after.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember finishing treatment and I cooking and I have to turn off the stove and go and take a rest. You just
So even though it was a mastectomy, you still had chemo and stuff to do after?
Oh, yeah. Well,
How long that was
now
for?
start. When you're doing radiation now, chemo comes in cycles.
Right.
You do 6 cycles, like every month or so, depending on your blood count. If your blood count goes down at all, you can't do it. So it was stretch the treatment out. But radiation is every day, Monday to Friday, for a minimum of 5 weeks.
Really? So where you was going back to do that? Sinclair, sir?
St. James.
Oh, St. James. Yeah, I mean, you know.
All my treatment was at
Okay.
St. James. Because when I saw the oncologist, because after the surgeon is finished with you, that's his part.
Yeah, he done.
He not
Okay,
doing
I
it.
understand.
So he refer you to an oncologist.
Right.
And my oncologist was Peter Bovell. Beautiful man. Well learned,
And he operating in St. James.
yeah.
We're seeing him every time you go.
Well, I went to him in his private office.
Okay.
And he referred me to
I
himself.
understand.
in St.
So you could take care of it there. Less cost and everything to you. And
No
well,
cost.
Oh, no cost.
The only cost is the test at the time that they couldn't do in St. James.
Right.
Yeah, you had to pay for it. But all those things happening in St. James now.
Yeah, this time we already moved from Anderson Street to Mottura Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
So
go ahead.
I used to drive myself out.
Yeah. I gonna tell you, I don't remember this at
When
all.
I was doing radiation,
Right.
drive myself out, do my radiation, come back home, change my clothes and go to work.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, because this is I would not. The thing is, I wasn't home at that time.
2002, you went
Yeah, when you at the time,
Yeah,
so
in
I not
second
seeing you every day. Yeah, in second year, I graduated in 2003. But I remember coming home after you had gotten the diagnosis and thing, because you told me before. You told me when you got the diagnosis. Now that you're saying it's 2 weeks between the surgery and the diagnosis. Somehow in my mind, it didn't feel that way. Yet, you know what it felt to me like? You tell me that after you know for some years, and now you decide to go and do the surgery. It was so matter of fact. I think, and that's why I was asking about, like, you getting yourself into all these different careers and just deciding you could do it and get it done at a high level is almost the same way you approach that diagnosis, which to me is, I just did one little thing with my foot the other day. I wanted that is between you and Stacey. You want to talk me off the ledge there where that is concerned, because that ain't easy. And this is not your first set of medical issues or major medical issues. Give me the rundown now. Give me somebody. We want to hear what you've been through. Give me the name.
Okay, the first thing was about a year after I started working in telco.
Right.
I had major surgery on my back, where I had a steel rod infused in my spine because I had what you call scoliosis, a twisted spine.
Right.
And that was from since the age 12, but it started shifting a little more with age.
And surgery was at what age? That would be just after you started early 20s?
Yeah. I don't even think I was 20 yet. I started to
Wow. Oh, you okay?
telco when I was about 18, 19.
Okay.
And I was down at Princess Elizabeth
All right.
on RP.
That's where you did that?
Yeah,
They used to do surgery there?
they still do.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Who knew?
yeah,
Okay.
they still do.
Okay.
Yeah. So that surgery was long. That surgery was long, and the recovery was very, very long.
Yeah, I guess. A lot of immobility at that time. You had your brace and all that?
Well, okay, well, after about 2 weeks, when you do the surgery, well, you're on a little ledge that they turn in you every forward.
Yeah.
So you spend forward with your face looking down on the ground, and then another forward, you're on your back. And so after that 2 weeks, then they put a cast.
So all this time you're in hospital?
Yeah, you're down there.
You can't go home?
You're down there. When they put on the cast, which was from under your arm to just above your hip,
Right.
they put on the cast,
Right.
plaster Paris
cast.
yeah,
Okay.
and then you go home.
Wow. And how long you in that cast for?
8 weeks. And then after that,
Right.
now you know, a brace. They make a brace for you
Right. This after the cast come off?
after the cast come off. And I went back to work.
Right.
And I used to work for half day. So that was that.
How long you had to wear that brace for now?
That brace was like for about 3 months, you know.
You making that sound like it's short.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
that's forever.
3 months, yeah.
So you well prepared by the time you had to deal with this cancer diagnosis. You've been through some things before, you not?
I think I'd prepare.
Really?
I tell you,
Really?
it's a long journey.
So
Journey. And the thing is that I did it almost all by myself.
yeah, I know. I was there. I could tell you do it by yourself. I could tell anybody that was. I mean, you long after here give Auntie Gertrude a lot of credit for being there and helping you and stuff because them days is me, you, and mother in a house alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
Because she used to make sure she stayed in the night with me.
Right, of course.
Which was, you know, but during the day.
Yeah.
Because she has a family, she had to go back home, and, you know.
And I don't remember you being out of work for a very long period.
No, I
of
went
time.
back to work on the 1st of November. I went back to work on the 1st of November.
So at no point in that you didn't feel to throw in the towel, like just not deal with it, retire, stay home.
No.
Oh, where you getting that from? Or where's that come from to be able to do?
Faith.
Especially after just seeing your sister go through that, and you know that was a traumatic thing for the whole family. I don't know how you felt at that time, but I did not expect that. I tell myself, well, she good now, everybody good. We just move out, we move into a new house in St. James, and all of a sudden there's 3 of us when 4 of us went there. And then you dealing with this, and as you say, battling it through by yourself. And post that period of radiation, chemotherapy and all that, you're saying that you have 5 years of medication and then another 5 years of a different type of...
Different kind of medication.
How is that? Side effects, your feeling? How is your health at this point in time, generally, you find?
The thing about it is that it's just the tiredness. That's what I remember. Just the tiredness.
As long as
I
that period
suppose-
after was still a long
But
time.
the thing about it is, for me, you have to do it. You have to do it.
Right, now I realize.
And and the more you dwell on how you feel, is the harder the journey would be. So you can't give too much to the feeling.
Understand.
You know, you have to do things. The hardest thing for me is that I wasn't able to exercise.
Yeah.
You know, because what they do with radiation, they put the marks on your skin where the machine has to do the radiation, and you can't shower it off.
Oh, okay.
I understand in places like London, they will do
Maybe an infrared thing or something.
no, they will do like a tattoo.
Okay.
They'll put like tattoo marks.
Yeah. So that you don't have to go through
Yeah.
that.
But and then too, even though they put those marks, you can't really get the area wet, because if you get the area wet, it will burn like charcoal. Your skin will
so you gotta-
burn like charcoal.
Wow.
And the other thing is, if you expose yourself to too much sunlight,
Right.
your skin gets like charcoal.
Really?
Oh yeah. I remember there's a security guard. He's still alive. He's in his 90s.
Right.
He was going through radiation, and I don't know why, but he never used to stay home. He go for treatment, and you will see him walking up and down. He's a ardent All-Star supporter. So
Yeah, he
go
must
in the
want to be out
pan,
there, yeah.
And his skin came like charcoal, really
Wow,
charcoal.
wow.
I met him a day down in Port of Spain, and I only recognized him by his voice.
Yeah, and you know what you're looking at. You've been through that, so you know what's... Oh, okay.
And I mean, you get dark. The palm of your hands get dark.
Wow.
The sole of your feet get dark.
That's during the period of radiation or the medication
Yes.
after and all that?
No
Or
radiation. That's what it does to you.
Right. I remember Auntie Maria being so upset with the whole process. She used to come and hide the pillow and the sheets and them
Yes, she
things that she
couldn't.
went. Yes, too much.
It was a lot of chemicals. Chemo is a lot of chemicals. And everybody mixture is different.
I guess.
I remember sitting with a young lady once when she was doing chemo, and when they brought the bag, it was burnt orange.
Wow.
That's what was going into her body.
Oh, yeah, that ain't easy to...
Burnt orange. And I am sitting there with her, seeing this thing going through.
This is while you had to go through it. You still in the midst of going through it, or this
No,
is
no,
after?
no.
This is after.
I was finished with my treatment. But when you're doing chemo, you need somebody there with you, because you have this IV in your hand, and you need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you need
nurses
help.
can't tend to
Of course,
everybody.
of course.
So you have to have.
And the process while you're there is how long? Is a couple hours you're there for?
It depends, because everybody mixture
I
different.
guess. Yeah, I suppose. Wow.
Because when Auntie Maria was going through chemo, she used to be in there for 5 days.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that. She used to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
used to
there
be
for a while.
5 days. Yeah.
So post, what point in terms of years after after chemo then you were able to start back exercising? How long it took for you to
No,
go
as
back
soon as
to?
radiation was finished.
Okay, so while you're on that medication for the 5 years, you gone back to
Yeah,
exercising
Yeah.
at the same rate you was going before?
Yeah.
So I thought you was tired.
Yeah, because actually, after I had surgery in October, in those days we used to have a aerobic competition at the end of the year.
Right.
The aerobic competition used to be the last week in November, around that time.
Right.
And I remember that year I went and announced. I couldn't take part in the competition.
But you take part.
But I announced and I hand out prizes and
Of
so
course. Right back to life, right?
on. Yeah. And that was when I took the opportunity to let the class know that I had surgery.
yeah, so all of them don't know at that point.
No.
Wow. Yeah, that happened fast. That whole thing happened fast.
Yeah.
So what does it take? So I remember you coming back and say you get a clean bill of health. You remember when that was?
No.
Yeah.
But to me, my health bill was always clean.
Yeah, from the time you done, you was good. You never
My
had
health bill
any.
was clean.
You never had any issues going back to that or anything
No,
like that.
but the thing is follow up.
Yeah.
You know, up to now. I still, up to last year, I went and do mammogram. And
So you have to
ultrasound
go.
and so
You have to.
on.
That's just something you're supposed to do post cancer every year, or every 6 months or something.
Even before.
Okay. Or some people should do.
Unless the doctor tell you, stop.
All right. Okay. So your advice now, because you've been through this thing, you're still exercising like hell, more than me for sure, earlier than me and later than me too. And one of the things that I admire a lot, I remember a girl who worked in TSTT reached out to me on Facebook one time, a girl called Renata Lowe. To tell me to just say thanks so much for your mother. I said, I do. But she was saying that her mom was diagnosed and was in St. James, and she said she saw you come in there just to talk to her and check on them and so on. So how? Because
we used to talk on the phone all the time.
Really?
Even the days that I couldn't go, when she had her visits and she reached back home, she would call me and we would chat, and I would kind of talk her through it.
Well, let me tell you something about me. I went to Sinclair for a shorter period than you went for a less serious issue than you went for. And when I drive, I don't even like to pass by Sinclair. I rather make the wrongs by Harvard. I don't want to see there at all. I get depressed every time I think I have to go back. So how you find it in you to go back there to talk to people who've been through that process?
It was never a problem for me. As a matter of fact, people I didn't even know. People used to refer them, and I would talk to them on the phone.
Right.
Because I remember Auntie Saka had, I don't know if she used to teach with Auntie Saka or if she was a parent.
Right.
And she brought her home.
Really?
And we sat down and I talked to her and I told her.
Home by you?
I like to tell people what to expect. It's not a quick fix, it's a journey.
Right.
And you have to be prepared for the long haul. Whatever you need to do.
Right.
When you're going through chemo and radiation, you're not always going to feel to eat, but you have to eat.
Yeah, I guess
even if it's
possible.
ice cream. You know, these little things, you know.
But what do you tell people mentally, though? Because to me, it sounds like a diagnosis that could, whichever part you get cancer, is a diagnosis that for sure life-changing.
Yeah.
So what do you tell somebody who hearing that diagnosis?
If you know that you need to talk to somebody, get counseling.
Right.
Because what used to happen to me is that every time October come around, I used to just get kind of uneasy.
Yeah, the vibe change.
And I remember reaching out because we had the EAP, the Employee Services.
Right.
And I remember reaching out to the EAP and explaining to them how I felt every October. But the strange thing is, they never encouraged me. And at that time, they used to do counseling free.
Right.
And they never encouraged me to, sit with a counselor.
So what do you used to do? What do you used to tell you?
I counsel myself.
But when you go to them, what they would do? That's not what they're supposed to do?
Either refer you to a counselor or whatever help you needed at the time.
Right.
Whether it was financial,
Okay.
social, whatever. They would refer you to somebody.
But it wasn't referring you to a counselor at all?
No.
But why would you do that so? You
I
short
just
pay them out.
counsel myself through it.
Right.
And I knew how I would have felt coming on to October.
Right.
So I kind of got into this space that, this is not healthy.
Right.
And get yourself
Yeah, work yourself
involved.
through. So are there any groups and so on that you are part of or that you
No.
know that people could, it's not much? That may be our next project for you to throw yourself into since you're accustomed doing things where you know what you're doing and you start and then you, because...
You see when you reach to this right pole,
Yeah, you're done with that.
to make that kind of every week commitment.
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, the every week commitment.
Right.
I could do it like one off and so on, and, but to commit every week to say I'm going, because something I used to tell myself I would like to do was go back to Princess Elizabeth.
Right, yeah, and do some work there.
Yeah, because your children, they're so helpful.
Well, I never
When
know
you-
is do
when you do
surgery and thing there.
surgery,
I don't know what.
They're so helpful.
I'm sure.
Really.
So then it's the
And
same
all
principle
of
as
them
home
going
then?
through their stuff.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Because
So it was the
children
same
who-
facility, but they do surgery there for different things as well.
For, like
children.
polio and stuff.
Okay, I understand.
To do like
Right, so
people
the
who have
scoliosis
bow
is
legs
there.
and that kind of thing. They used to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, because when I heard from Renata, one of the things that she was saying is, you get a lot of help, people tell you all kind of things, but to hear from somebody who's been through it before made a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
So it's something that you do now, like talk to people.
Anybody who reach out,
Right, yeah.
I would talk to.
And what is it like going back there now? Like when you have to go for checkups for treatment? Because to me, you just say, I just hear you saying, all right, I'm going to St. James Medical today with no issue whatsoever,
Yeah, because I have two clinics there.
Right.
I have the cancer clinic, which is Northwest, and then I have a gerontology clinic, which is for the old people.
Right.
And they're on the same compound. They're on the same compound.
Right. So you're right there, no
Actually,
worries.
up to now, remember Auntie Cheryl's sister.
Right.
I take her drive her all the time
Oh,
when
you
she
do?
has to go for visits and so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's inspirational
Still
because
talk to her.
yeah, she's doing good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that's glad to hear. Yeah, it's inspirational because that is something, as I say, could make people buckle in many, many different ways in life. But somehow you figure out how to do it almost by yourself and get through it to the point where you could inspire some people to do it. I think that's amazing. I admire you for that. For how I was surprised when I heard that because my first thought was I wasn't going back there. There was nowhere. I was not going back there. And I guess it's from hearing that from Auntie Maria, hiding the pillow and hiding the sheets and things. So to go back in that
The
building. And,
chemicals
yeah.
set you off.
I could imagine. And it will trigger plenty memories of all kind of different things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what's the plan now? What you're working on? What you're doing? What's the plan? You're cancer free for a long time. You're celebrating. You're in your pink. You make me fine pink thing to put on. You say we're celebrating this year or every year?
I celebrate every day. I celebrate every day and however I feel to celebrate.
Right.
If I feel to go and shop, I shop.
There's a lady who now tell me Christmas music. When she hear Parang and Charlotte Street is make her spend more money. Yeah? So
Purses
take
get
note.
loose.
Yeah. So you're just here enjoying it. Yeah, your grandson.
Yeah, oh
He wants to
boy.
know, he asked me this morning, why does Nana make me call her Nana? I said, brother, nobody don't make you call nothing. That's what you decide to call Nana ever since. So he said he was here to hear part of the journey and hear part of the story. So I appreciate you coming on. You tell me how much you'd be tired after just now. So I said, let me keep you here because the plan was about 3 hours. We write on about an hour and 15 minutes. So
That's good.
we need a few things before you leave, right? Well, first and foremost, that leaving talk. I know what that leaving talk.
Platoon
Remember this?
number 1.
It's a curry to eat.
Rip it up. Joe just up in Army Greens, 'cause the night she on the scene. So she put on she battle wear. She going to meet she battalion, so they can plan an invasion to create their own atmosphere. The big plan was to invade a party. Right there, they planned the strategy to capture the territory, moving to achieve their goal. They advanced in combat style. When they got there, the soldiers went wild. They singing,
No, she ain't going home. She ain't leaving.
no, we ain't going home. 'Cause we feel that we can fret all night. We ain't going home. Fret all day. We ain't going home. Music right. We ain't going home. So we'll go tonight. 'Cause the music just have we hype and ready to mash up the tongue and blow up the city. No, we ain't going home. We ain't leaving. No.
So now that we established she ain't going nowhere, right? I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you very much for listening every week and all the feedback you give me. I remember it's all kind of different stages of feedback, because she listened since I didn't know what this podcast is really. And I remember you calling me a day and telling me, boy, that talk too heavy. It's getting too heavy. Stop coming here and saying you're depressed about COVID all the time. Where you going? Who called you to be part? Who called you?
Nobody.
How the producer reach on screen? What is going on?
Your face, look.
Let them see your face. Go close to Nana. That's the easiest way for them to see your face. So me and the producer, boy, stoop down. You get your shot. Me and the producer want to say thanks for coming on. Thanks for all the advice. Thanks for all the feedback. Thank you for being who you are, not just to us, but to many, many, many people who we have touched over the years. And we want a commitment that this is not the last time you're coming on the podcast.
And then to talk about again.
We can press all night. Press all day. 'Cause the music right. So we'll go tonight. Yes, the music just have we hype and ready to mash up the tongue and blow up the city. No.
Hey, listen, all it might me going home, but we going home. I home and she ain't going nowhere, so we are curry to go and eat and thing. And this is not the last time you're going to hear from her on the podcast. Food not ready yet? Hey, let me tell you something about Nana. Nana done cook that food since about 4 o'clock this morning, Nana must have finished cook, if not yesterday and the day before. So I know for sure food ready. So we're going to deal with some curry here. Thank you for tuning in. It wouldn't be her last time here. Don't care what she say. We have plenty more to talk about calypso and them things. All we get to play is tambour, you know. We playing with David Rudder. So next time you come run a selection of songs, right?
Right.
All right, good. I'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.